Hi there guys, and welcome back to the shop for episode 12, where today we're going to be doing science with coat hangers. Because after extolling the wonderful virtues of using aluminum conductors, I figured this would be pretty good. Frequently you can find coat hangers out of steel. Like this is the kind you want. If you have a wooden one, it's not gonna work for you. But basically, I was thinking that if you guys have endured this long through all these videos, maybe it's time we actually played with some arcs and sparks. And the first thing I want to teach you is the difference between arcs, sparks, and streamers, because words mean things. I'm gonna cut those straight, actually. All right, so we can just get rid of those. We don't need that. We're gonna cut these without the curve. So a spark is a very short-lived, how about safety glasses? A spark is a very short-lived conduction of electricity between 2 points. Okay, so like when you reach out and touch a doorknob and get bit there, like a little static thing, that's a spark, like that. Between 2 points, that's a spark. An arc is the same thing, but it lasts a long time. So if it's more than just an instant, that's an arc. That's an arc between 2 points. A streamer, which we're gonna make a lot of these in the Tesla coil world. A streamer is a high voltage electrical discharge from 1 point to open air. It doesn't actually connect to anything. The minute it connects to something, it's an arc. But if it's just one-sided coming from the top of a Tesla coil off, out, that's a streamer. And I guess corona would count in there too, but corona is more just a fuzzy purple glow that doesn't really, it's an amorphous, fuzzy, purple in air glow. And that's a streamer. So we've cut our aluminum coat hangers down to just straight pieces relatively, and I'm gonna take a bunch of bends out of the, actually, no I'm not. No, I'm not either. I'm gonna take it up to the top. This is jazz, man. I'm figuring this out as I go along. Okay, this is totally just a free-form jazz exercise. I have no plan whatsoever on this. I know how I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna put I put a piece of black foam on top of this just to make it not super reflective, because I want to get you guys some pretty pictures. So we've got, what's our overall length? Almost exactly 11. So at 5.5, we'll make a mark at about the middle. That's my reference. Now I'm gonna talk while I do this whole thing, but I might time lapse this whole thing because a lot of it's gonna be boring and some people just wanna see the sparks. Now that's gonna be back a bit. So we've gotta maintain clearance here. So we're gonna straighten this out. No. Okay, so that's our shape. Which means I'm gonna want about that, and then take that out. Okay, so I'm unfolding it into that shape, and I'm gonna cut the top right off. Unfold it, because I want that little bit of a kick to it. Just for a horn gap, which we're probably never gonna use at these current levels. I don't think it really needs it, but now I got two similar pieces, and this is really soft aluminum, so it's super easy to work with. Now I'm gonna want that to fold down and go there, so we're gonna wrap this around this way. And for that, I need a big 1/4-20 bolt. All right, so I just got a 1/4-20 bolt here. put that in my vise. Now we're gonna fold down, so we wanna go around it here. And I'm just gonna grab a pair of pliers because I wanna have every bit of this I can. Now the best way to do this would be to grab it about like that. Pull tight on it and just walk it right around. Yeah, that'll work. Clearly, it's holding it up. All right, and we'll slide that out, squeeze it together, and come off the top. Hey, not bad. Okay, now we're gonna put that on there. We'll work our way down. It's tight, but it'll fit. We want it tight. Okay, and then we'll put our washer on it. And we'll run this down. We'll grab, I put it away. Remember 7/16 nut driver and tighten this right down. Okay, so that's on there. And we've got to get that radius because we want to maintain clearance. We don't want to arc to the case. But we got our first one mounted and I'm going to do the other one. Okay, so we're just using a 1/4-20 bolt as our bending mandrel. I'm expanding it just enough to get that out. It's easier just to unthread it. Okay, I'll grab it, bend it back in the right direction. And then we'll take this off. And our washer. It needs to expand out just a hair. Tiny bit. There we go. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Now how am I gonna do that radius? I need, what do I have that'll make me happy? Because I wanna, oh yeah, I got, well, I could just roll it over my hand. I have to come in a little bit. I wanna be relatively far away from that. But I gotta get close enough to my thing. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we'll take some kink out of our bars to get in a little tighter. because the first point of danger is this short distance. But we can see we're way too far apart. If we powered that up right now, it's not gonna do anything. So we're gonna have to bring these in tighter. Like that. Yep. And then at that point where they want to meet, that's where we're going to turn and head just slightly apart. Because this is very low current, and we're only going to be able to draw that arc, like that's farther than the arc's going to draw out. So we want to get this, and you could spend a long time fussing and farting with this to get it just perfect. But I think that'll be, now I got to get that's got to be tighter. That's got to be, so when you're setting up a Jacob's ladder, it's important to know what your minimum distance is to initiate the arc. And this is only a 12 kilovolt NST, so it's going to be like a 1/4 inch. It's going to be really tight. And you need to know your maximum distance that it'll hold that arc, that you can draw it out to. And so the minimum down here is determined by your voltage, how close you got to be for it to arc. And your maximum is determined by your current. Yeah, we're getting there. It's still too far, but we're getting there. Bring that in. Bring that out. Just gently like. All right, that might still be a little far, but we'll see what we get. All right, so we have now made the basic structure of our Jacob's ladder, and I'm going to get our power ready. Ground first, always, always, always ground first. Then neutral up on top for a microscopic little bit more safety. And then our hot down in the middle. Okay, I'm gonna need a stick. All right, I have a stick made from a piece of 1/2 inch PEX, I think. Just a stick of plastic that is long enough to keep me reasonably safe. Let's move some stuff out of the way, just so as not to have extra things on the table. All right, so we built a Jacob's ladder. Now, this is as simple as I can possibly make one of these, but we're 12 episodes in, and it's time to, like, we've covered all our basic fundamentals, and I wanted to take some time and just give you the opportunity to just play, because that's why we got into this. That's why we get into playing with high voltage and high energy stuff, is we want to play with sparks. This is ridiculously dangerous. There is no part of this system that is in any way safe. The whole thing violates code. Like, this is just bad. all around, and there's 20 different ways to kill yourself with this thing, which makes it an excellent teaching tool, because if you build these and you screw around with it, you're gonna end up learning some painful lessons. So just realize that this device is inherently dangerous. So it can kill you in a dozen different ways, and it's just all around a bad idea. So let's play with it. What we've done is we've connected a couple old aluminum coat hangers. They make coat hangers out of aluminum now. How cool is that? It's a lot easier to bend and work with than steel ones, which is why they were the ones I grabbed. But we've arranged, all we've done is taken the output terminals and brought them close together with a tall vertical rise. This goes up like a foot. So what's happening is there's a lot of mechanisms at play here, and this is a really good place to explore a lot of this. What we've got is 6,000 volts to ground and 6,000 volts to ground out of phase with each other. So across here, we've got 12,000 volts. When we're down at the bottom, that's really close together. They're usually a Jacob's ladder spreads out more as you go up, but I can do that on here. We can spread this out a little bit for you guys, because we're going to explore the mechanisms in this, and they all wibble. That's because it's totally unsupported. This whole thing wibbles a lot. So here's what's happening. Down here at the bottom, the gap is at its closest, right at that point. Not way down here, but right there. You can see that's where they get the closest together. Because that's the path of least resistance. Because the more air you go, the more distance you have in air, the harder it is for the electricity to jump across. So that's the point where the spark's going to initiate. That's where it's going to jump across. Once the spark jumps across, it's making a lot of heat. It's emitting energy in the form of light and heat and mechanical energy, sound. Sound is mechanical energy. Exactly. So all that energy going off makes it very easy to see the spark and know right where it is and all that. But what it also does is it heats the air right around it. And because we've heated that little pocket of air, and hot air has a lower density than colder air, the hot air is pushed up by the cold air coming down to fill the space behind it. So the spark, arc technically, that you see here climbs because it's being driven up because hot air rises. That spark, once the two things are close together, the breakdown voltage of the air determines how fast it can jump across. If we could do exactly the same thing with a 50,000 volt transformer, and that gap there would be way farther apart. But once the arc is established, what keeps the arc going isn't the voltage, it's the current. Because now you've got an ionized channel of air and things are happening, and that's gonna rise, and you'll see these get farther apart as we go up until the arc gets all the way to the top and they get too far and it breaks. And you'll also notice another thing. We only get one arc at a time. You'll never see two. You can only have one at a time, because the minute you have one established, no other arcs can form because all of the energy is dumped into the one arc, because electricity always takes the path of least resistance. So let's take a step back here and look at this in operation. So we can see the arc forms and it immediately heads up. That's the hot air driving it. And once it gets up to the top, it breaks apart. Did you notice the other really cool thing happening? Look how much they're moving. I didn't do that. Watch, if I unplug it, they keep vibrating for a bit, but it'll die down pretty fast. Why are they moving? Now, with a DC power supply, we'd have Lenz's law coming into play, and they'd move and stuff like that. Why is this happening with AC though? We don't have a positive terminal and a negative terminal. They're switching back and forth 60 times every second. So let's stop this from moving. All right, so those are pretty still. There's a little weeble to it, but they're pretty still. Now let's try that again. I'm not bumping the table. I'm a foot away. they're moving again. Why are they moving? What's causing that? What's going on here? Because this is the moment that real science happens. Real science does not happen when some dude runs naked through the street screaming Eureka. Real science happens when something unexpected happens and you're like, huh, why is it doing that? Why is that moving? What's the mechanism here? What's causing this? Why is that moving so, and it's moving a lot. What's making that move? And you can see that the movement of the things is affecting the speed of the arcs. When they really get swinging, that gets closer down here when these get brought together, and it reduces the voltage for the voltage standoff, and it starts a new arc quicker. So if I were to come in and stop that, that's our standard speed. But the minute I take the stick away and those can move on their own, look at the speed difference. Watch, I'll just shut up a second and you can see what I'm talking about. But watch how the speed changes. That's our standard, everything's still. How about that, huh? So comment in, I want to see if you guys can figure it out. This isn't terribly complicated, but we're covering beginner stuff and it's important to know about this. So I'm gonna disconnect it. I'll put the plug in my pocket. So I'm gonna touch those together to make sure there's no residual charge on it. Okay. So what we've got going on is we've made a basic Jacob's ladder. We've learned about why the arc rises. We've learned about how it's current that maintains the arc, but it's a voltage that initiates the arc. And we've covered path of least resistance and some basic stuff there. So we've done all the science and we've discovered a thing here that we're going to exploit in the next video. We've learned that the electricity can make these move. When you have two conductors like that, it can make them want to oscillate back and forth together. So we're going to figure out how to use that to a greater effect, because here it was just a thing happened. Why? Well, I don't know. You're going to have to tell me. Comment in. But what can we do with that? And that's going to be the next video. But you've waited a long time to get to this point. So what I'm going to do for here is just let you guys enjoy some really cool arc videos. You guys have fun. I'm Chris Bowden. As always, I'll see you next time. In the meantime, check out the Discord. The link's below in the description. You can be hanging out and just sit back and enjoy the arcs, because we put a lot of work to get to this point. You've put your time in, you've paid your dues. Let's just watch some cool arcs and have some fun. I'll see you around, guys.